All right, like my brother says, this is the first night of the Feast of Unleavened Bread 2019. And we're going to bring it in right. We're doing what the Lord say do on this high day. First, I want to make sure everybody understands that these feast days are natural, have a natural and a spiritual meaning. What I mean by that is God is using bread, which is leavening, which have yeast in it, and unleavened, which do not have yeast in it. They are metaphors. If you know anything about a metaphor, it's something you're trying to describe. Like we'll say, LeBron James is a beast. Is he a literal beast? No, but he's a great athlete that plays above human sometimes. But with this bread, God used these two types of bread as tools to make us understand what is sin and what is righteousness. And that tool he uses is to, for an example, when you go to the doctor, if you want to lose weight, if he tells you to lose weight, what's the first thing he tells you to do? You got to cut back on the bread with yeast in it. Bread will puff you up. It'll make you heavier than you are. But what God is using bread this day to let you see that leaven, which is sin, will puff you up. Will puff you up, and you'll have a lot of sin on you. But this unleavened bread is what we go through for 7 days and not eating bread with leaven, which is purging out the sin in our lives. Yeah. That's a great analogy that God uses, because most of the Israelites, we like to eat. So he did something that, people like to eat, which is bread. So he said, look, I'm going to have y'all abstain from bread for 7 days with yeast in it. That's unleavened, which is purging out the sin. It's comparative sin. And then he says, make sure we understand that we are keeping this feast, not just about bread. It's not just about bread. It's a spiritual meaning to it. He's talking about purging sin now. But we're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10 first. And I want everybody to understand that what's going on in the world today, we have a whole lot of leaven, which is spiritually a lot of sin. Come on. So we're trying to break this whole feast down so we'll understand what we're supposed to be doing, not just eating, but this is the eating of the spiritual food. This is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the first night or the first day. 1 Corinthians chapter 10. We're going to start at verse 20. But we have to understand, we can't sit at two tables. What I mean by two tables is you can't sit at the table of the Feast of Unleavened Bread and Passover, Day of Atonement, and then go back over there and sit at the Sunday table. That's right. Which is Easter, Thanksgiving. They're going to have Easter tomorrow, which they celebrating a lot. And we're going to break this thing down in history so you'll understand what they celebrate. Come on, bro. But God wants us to make sure that you don't play with him. And we're going to show you why. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, we're going to start with verse 20. Go ahead, bro.
But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils,
yes, sir,
and not to God. And I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils.
If you don't know who the Gentiles are, that's the one that gave you white Jesus. Those are the Europeans, who we call white folks. They are the Gentiles. And he said, I don't want you to fellowship, meaning that you come together on a holy day, which is, a holy day like they celebrate, which is Easter. You don't supposed to fellowship with that, period. Let's see why. Go ahead.
Ye cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils.
Yes, sir.
Ye cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and of the table of devils.
See, you got a table here. 2 tables. You got the Lord's table, which on the table right now is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We are not eating bread with yeast in it for 7 days. And we are eating unleavened bread for 7 days.
That's right.
You understand what that means now? This is the table of the Lord right here. But on the table of devils, you have Easter eggs, Easter bunnies, You have Good Friday. You have Resurrection Sunday. That ain't on this table because we're going to break all this down so you understand that Jesus didn't die on Good Friday. He didn't resurrect up on Sunday morning. All that stuff is lies. That's on the table of these devils. I want to make sure you understand that. So he don't want us to fellowship with that. There's going to be some temptation tomorrow. You have some family members coming to you and say, yeah, come on over here and celebrate Easter with family time. Everybody having a good time, dinner and all this stuff. All right now. You sat at this table right here. It's the Lord's table, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You can't sit at the Easter table. So let's get into the Lord's table. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 23 and 1. Go ahead, 22. Read 22 first.
Do we provoke the Lord to jealousy?
Yes, sir.
Or are we stronger than he?
That's good. You can't, he said, don't you try to provoke the Lord to jealousy. He's a very jealous God.
Come on, come on.
He don't want nobody to come before him. He's more jealous than any jealous husband, any jealous wife. He's very jealous. So he want to make sure you have nobody before him, period.
Amen.
So don't let your mama, your grandmama, your kids influence you to go and do something that's going to provoke him to anger and jealousy. Jealousy.
Praise the Lord.
Now let's go look at the Lord's table. Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 1. Man, it looks so nice in here. Looks so nice in here. We're going to read verse 1. We're going to jump down to verse 6 and get to the feast at hand. This is the Lord's table. Go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying,
Verse 6.
and on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto the Lord.
Yes, sir.
7 days ye must eat unleavened bread.
So he said the 15th day. We know we did the 14th day. We had Passover. We took the bread and the wine. Now we on the 15th day. This is the calendar. God has a calendar here. He wants us to remember these days that have a very significant meaning to it for salvation. He said, you shall eat no leavened bread for 7 days. But you should eat unleavened bread for 7 days. Go ahead.
In the first day ye shall have an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein.
So this is the first day of unleavened bread. We don't go to our jobs. We take off. We celebrate the Lord. No servile work. We do like little minor work here and there to, take care of the feast, working around, washing, or cooking and stuff like that. We can do that on the feast, but not on the regular Sabbath. We're not supposed to do that. But he said, no servile work. You don't go to your job and clock in and go to work on this day.
That's
You're
right.
supposed to be off. Go ahead.
But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days.
Yes, sir.
In the 7th day is a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein.
We don't do the offering made by fire because Jesus paid that cost at the cross. He died on the cross and used his body for the sacrifices. We don't do that. But he said, have a holy convocation on the 7th day. We're going to have another day. We're going to celebrate the 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's coming up that Thursday evening next week, the 26th. But he giving us our instructions here. I want to make sure you understand. So when people come and ask you all, why do you all do that? What's the significance of not eating bread with yeast in? What's the significance of not eating leavened bread? You need to be able to explain this. So we just breaking all this down. We get our instruction from the Lord at his table. Let's go to Exodus chapter 12 and verse 15. Let's get more detail on this feast. We got to get the spiritual food first. We'll get that physical next. Exodus chapter 12, we're going to start with verse 15. Verse 15. Go ahead, bro.
7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread.
Yes, sir.
Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses.
You see what he said? 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. That's why we took the unleavened cracker. We ate it. Each day you eat unleavened bread. It ain't got to be a lot of it. Just take a bite off of it. Okay, you did your part for 7 days. And he said, put all leaven out of your houses. You get all that bread that have yeast in it out. And this will have a spiritual meaning to it. We're going to break all this down. God is not just dealing with bread. He's using that as a metaphor. It's a metaphor pointing to something bigger, which is sin. Sin is described as leaven. Unleavened is described as unleavened is described as righteousness. Excuse me. This is what God trying to get us to see, the spiritual side of it. But we only sometimes can see stuff because it's going in our mouth. We like to eat. A lot of people like to eat. So he's using this. Go ahead.
For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the seventh day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel.
You understand what he said there? If you eat bread with yeast in it, from these 7 days, your soul is going to be cut off from it. He's serious about this. When he's talking about cutting you off, that means the lake of fire. Go ahead.
And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation. And in the seventh day there shall be an holy convocation to you.
This is what we're doing now. We're having a holy convocation, a church regathering. We're gathering together in this beautiful place, and we're having the first night of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We are following the instructions of the Lord. We're not gathering together on that other table, which is Easter. That's the table of devils. Go ahead.
No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat.
Yes, sir.
That only may be done of you.
Go ahead.
And
he's still going back to no matter what. You don't clock in at your job. Go ahead.
And ye shall observe the Feast of Unleavened Bread, for in this same day have I brought your enemies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day as good.
He said, I have brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever.
How long is forever? You got to do it till Christ comes back. And we still don't do it in his kingdom. Understand, it's a history lesson right here. This is what happened to our people when we was in Pharaoh's house for 400 years. Moses led us out. He said, remember what I did on this day. I brought you out on this day, which is the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And he's going to do the same thing coming up when he comes back. He's going to bring us out of this Pharaoh's house, which is the Americans, or this system, this Babylonian system. He's going to take us to the land where we can be free. He wants you to teach this in all generations. Go ahead.
18. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at evening,
yes, sir,
ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening.
He said the 15th day and the 21st day of this same month, you shall eat unleavened bread. God got the first month. Look at the calendar flowing here. He's telling you what's the first month, what you're supposed to do in the first month, which is a meal. This is what we do. We take the Passover, which is the 14th day. Then the 15th day, we have the first night of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Then the 21st day, we have the last night of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This is God's instruction. But what they got people in the world doing? Hiding eggs, jumping around like a bunny, saying Easter speeches, because it's fun. But this God right here, he has fun in his feast too now. This fun right here when you're doing what you know is right. Go ahead, brother.
7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses.
You get all that yeast, bread with yeast out your house. 7 days. That's a tool that God is using. So you understand, leaven is sin. Leaven makes bread puff up. You put sin in your life, it's going to make sin puff up in your life. He trying to use that as a metaphor to get it out your life. Go ahead.
For whosoever eateth that which is leavened,
yes, sir,
even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land.
God said, whether you be a stranger or Israel, if you eat leaven, you're going to be cut off. Because he's keeping a record here. When he said the book shall be open, that's the record book. He's going to find out what you have done. You can fake it with me, I can fake it with you, and go home and eat plenty bread. And then next thing you know, God got that angel writing everything down. So be serious about this, because he's very serious. Go ahead.
Ye shall eat nothing leavened, and all your habitation shall you eat unleavened bread.
Yes, sir. This is the instruction. Let's go to Numbers chapter 33.
Got 13 here.
I got 13 now? Go to
chapter 2.
Exodus 13, excuse me, thank you. Exodus, I got a lot of information I want to cover. I want to hold you. I know you smell that food.
Yes.
People mind ain't on it. Let's go to Exodus 13. We're going to start with verse 3. I just want y'all to have y'all instructions so you'll know what to do. Go back home and refresh your mind over this. Refresh it. Exodus chapter 13, excuse me, verse 3. Go ahead.
And Moses said unto the people, remember this day in which you came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Yes, sir.
For by strength of hand the Lord brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten.
So we understand that we was freed. Our ancestors were freed from Pharaoh's house on this day. They came out of the land free. Purge them out of that sinful house. He wants us to remember this and teach our kids this so they can carry this on and protect themselves. Go ahead.
This day came you out in the month Abib.
You got a name for the first month, Abib. You can look it up for yourself. This is the spring month of the year, the first month of the year, which is the rebirth of the growing back of things like grass started growing back, trees, all this stuff started growing back. This is not the first month of this man calendar or the Gentile calendar. January is their first month, which is everything dead. Everything dead don't make sense. Go ahead.
And it shall be when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites,
yes, sir,
and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he swore unto thy fathers to give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey,
yes, sir,
that thou shalt keep this service in this month.
God said, when I bring you to this land, they got a whole bunch of Africans in it. You can go to Genesis chapter 10 and to tell you the genealogy of these people, the Amorites, the Hivites, all those are African nations. He said, when you go in this land, I want you to make sure you keep this. Don't adopt what they're doing. You're supposed to teach them this, Israel. Just like we come into this land, we're supposed to teach them about the God of Israel, how to keep these feasts. Go ahead.
And it shall be when the Lord shall...
Verse 6.
Verse 6, I'm sorry. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and in the 7th day shall be a feast to the Lord.
Still telling the instructions. 7 days you eat unleavened bread, and it shall be a feast unto the Lord. Go ahead.
Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee, neither shall there be leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters.
Now don't be around here somebody, you go to work, somebody says, I'm gonna give you this cake right here. Just hold it right here. You can eat after your leavened bread. He said, no, this stuff shouldn't be seen with you. Leaven, period. No, bro, I gotta abstain, sis. I thank you, but I can't do this. And why? Because it's the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We don't supposed to have bread with yeast in our quarters. That's a good teaching. And so you can teach somebody this. Go ahead.
And thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, this is done because of that which the Lord did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt.
See, I'm showing my son this day. You show your daughter. I show my daughters. I show my people what was done this day, that we came out of Egypt, our ancestors out of Egypt, into the land flowing with milk and honey, which is Jerusalem.
Amen.
This is the day he wants us to remember what I've done for you. And teach it to your kids. Give them some protection. Go ahead.
And it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes.
What is a sign? What is a memorial between your eyes? That's action. Hands meaning we putting this feast together, we cooking, we make sure we got this place straightened up, we making sure we got the unleavened cracker, we making sure we got all the leaven out of our house. We working to sign upon your hand, you working to make sure you keep this feast holy with no leaven. He said it shall be a memorial between your eyes. What is between your eyes? Your brain. What's in your brain? God looking at, do you remember what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you putting time into understanding? He wants you to remember this so you can teach people, and especially your family. Your family, your loved one. Go ahead.
And for a memorial between thine eyes, that the Lord's law may be in thy mouth.
Yes, sir.
For with a strong hand has the Lord brought thee out of Egypt.
How the Lord's law in your mouth? You telling them about the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's in your mouth. You ain't telling them about Easter, Resurrection Sunday. This is stuff they tell us now. We tell them about the Feast of Unleavened Bread, how God brought the Israelites, which are the so-called African Americans, out of Egypt, out of Pharaoh's house, and freed them that day. On this day, same day right here. We good with that?
One more verse.
Go ahead.
Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year.
See, we keeping it in the season. How do we know the season? We find out we're into spring and we keep the ordinance from season to season. Folks say, how you know that the first spring moon of the month? I'm doing the best with what I got. I'd rather God catch me trying than not doing. That's the difference.
Amen.
God said, that boy a little slow, but he'll get it. I know he looking out there saying, I'm slow. I got to read this stuff over and over and over again to make sure it's in my mind. This will work for me right here. This thing worried me. It worried me. You know why it worried me? Because I want to make sure I'm telling you all right, because I'm responsible for every one of these souls in here. If I tell you wrong, just like any pastor that's standing in this spot, he's responsible for everything he tells you. And that's a heavy load to carry in judgment. Real heavy. Let's go to Numbers chapter 33. Let's see the history on it. What happened on this day. The Feast of Unleavened Bread 2019. Numbers 33, we're going to start with verse 1. You get it, brother? Go ahead.
These are the journeys of the children of Israel, which went forth out of the land of Egypt with their armies under the hand of Moses and Aaron.
So God has given us the history right here. What happened on this day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread? So you will know, these are the journeys. What happened under the hands of Moses and Aaron? Go ahead.
And Moses wrote their goings out according to their journeys by the commandments of the Lord.
Yes, sir.
And these are their journeys according to their goings out.
So Moses wrote this down in this history book, which is the Bible. So you'll know your history. I will know my history because it's written. So you can teach a kid, you can teach anybody what God done on this day. Go ahead.
And they departed from Ramses in the first month.
Ramses is another name for Egypt. In the first month, which we know that month is what? Abib. Spring. Go ahead.
On the 15th day of the first month, on the morrow after the Passover,
Yes, sir.
the children of Israel went out with an high hand in the sight of all the Egyptians.
So he telling us right there, the 14th day was the Passover. He said the morrow after the Passover, what? The children of Israel left. So this is the history right here. Read up on all this. A lot of stuff we can't cover this night. I just want to make sure we lay a foundation for you all so y'all understand. We know what we're doing. I know exactly what I'm doing. I want to make sure you know exactly what you're doing. Now let's go to this Easter thing. Let's break this down. Let's go to Acts chapter 20. Now before we go there, let's go to Acts chapter 20, verse 1. Because a lot of people say, you just read New Testament, you read Old Testament. They ain't celebrating the Feast of Unleavened Bread in the New Testament. Let me show you they did.
Amen.
They love Paul now. We're going to go to Paul. Ain't nothing wrong with Paul. Nothing wrong with Paul at all. Hell, a lot of Hebrews kick against Paul. Paul, very smart. He just said them Hebrews are very dumb. Acts chapter 20. We're going to start with verse 1. So you'll understand that the Feast of Unleavened Bread wasn't just in the Old Testament. It was in the New Testament too. Acts chapter 20. We're going to start with verse 1. You got to go?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
And after the uproar was ceased, Paul called unto him the disciples
Yes,
and
sir.
embraced them and departed for to go into Macedonia.
This is Paul talking here. Jump down to verse 5. Go ahead.
These going before tarried for us at Taurus,
Yes, sir.
and we sailed away from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread.
After the days of what?
Unleavened bread.
So they sailed away after the days of unleavened bread, the Passover, and the 7 days of unleavened bread. Paul said he had to keep these days in that particular spot. He couldn't go nowhere. He got to keep this spot. This is the days of unleavened bread. Go ahead.
And came unto them to Taurus in 5 days, where we abode 7 days.
I wonder why they abode 7 days.
Amen.
They had to keep the feast 7 whole days.
That's right.
That's what we're doing, keeping it 7 whole days. We have the first night of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which we holding today, and we having a holy convocation, and we coming together to eat and gather together. We doing what the Lord said. Then on the 7th day, we're going to do the exact same thing to finish it off. This is what we're doing. But I'm going to show you what this leaven really means, the metaphor for it, or the symbolism of it. Let's go to Matthew chapter 16. He's not just talking about bread. He's just using that as a tool. A tool. Matthew 16, verse 5. These two tools is unleavened, which is righteousness, and leaven, which is sin. He's using them to show us through what we eat in our mouth, how it will puff you up if you eat a lot of bread. It will make you fat if you